I rise today because I literally just about 2 minutes ago finished a telephone town hall with over 5,000 people back home in New Jersey that joined up to try to figure out what in the world is happening to our government right now when they see just this abdication of leadership from the White House to leadership here in Congress to step up right now at a time of need. Thousands of people from across New Jersey that had called in worried about how this shutdown is going to affect their lives, how the healthcare costs that they are going to be experiencing are going to reshape their ability to be able to deliver care for those that need care the most. The simple story is they're scared. The people I talked to, they were nervous about what comes next. And frankly, they're pissed off about this. They know that this is not how a government should function. They know that, yes, we need to be able to step up and have negotiations, but how can you have negotiations when one chamber of this Congress isn't even showing up to work this week? That's right. When I told them about how Speaker Johnson didn't even bring the House of Representatives to work this week, even though they were supposed to, they were furious. If we're going to ask public servants to show up to work tomorrow, if we're going to ask our military to show up to work tomorrow without getting paid, the least that our Republicans in the House of Representatives can do is show up to work here. We should be furious about this. It's an abdication of leadership. It is a dereliction of duty. It is one of the most shameful things that I've seen in terms of just giving up on something that is so important, is going to have so much impact on so many people across this country. What I heard is they want us to be the adults in the room, to sit together, to be able to have the kind of dialogue. But instead, what we see is just this posturing and back and forth from Donald Trump, from leadership on the Republican side that hold the gavels here. And yes, the Republicans control the White House, they control the Senate, they control the House of Representatives, and the American people know that, and they know who is at fault for where we stand right now, that we are all about 3 hours away from a government shutdown. And this is something that I take personally. As someone who worked as a career civil servant before, I told my constituents today how I worked as a civil servant. I worked through multiple shutdowns before. Of course, I don't want to see us get to this place, and this should be an absolute last resort. But again, when they're not even bothering to show up to work, we know where their priorities land, that they have been moving towards this and barreling our country towards this for a long time now. So my constituents have every bit a right to be feeling pissed off about this. Because after we were already going through this in March, they see government once again not working for them. And they're right. Where have the attempts been over the past few months to work together to avoid this scenario? And again, it's not just about process. I don't want people to think that this is just some tug of war, that this is just some battle for political power, that this is just some challenge between political parties for who has the momentum on their side. There's real struggle. And I heard that on this town hall. We had people like Letitia from Camden who said that with the prices so high, quote, every choice feels like a sacrifice and the stress is constant. It's affecting how they're able to hold up and how they feel when they wake up every morning, what keeps them up at night. Still, she remains determined to advocate for families like hers who deserve stability, dignity, and hope. Or an urgent call from Barbara, who begged us not to back down from this fight. Laura from Brick, who called and urged Democrats not to back down from this fight, and was being able to say how concerned she was for just regular citizens to be able to make things easier for everyone impacted. She was asking, how can she help? She's asking, how can she help those that are struggling from the shutdown? She frankly wants to do more than what Speaker Johnson is doing on the other side of this building. Or people like Mick, from Tom's River, who although was trying to be an informed citizen and learn what was going on, was having trouble figuring out fact from fiction regarding this budget because it's just the sheer amount of disinformation and lies that we see out there in political rhetoric. Lies that are blatantly trying to smear and make it difficult for the American people to understand what's at stake. So yes, when we hear the Speaker of the House talking about how this funding, that this is Democrats that are trying to cut resources from FEMA or make it harder for people to get care through the WIC program for women, infants, and children. Well, look, it's just deception. Because what we already know is that reconciliation bill that was passed, this is something that is estimated to potentially affect 3 million people, preventing them from getting care through the WIC program already. 3 million out of 8 million that get care now. So who is it that's actually hurting people's ability to get those services? And FEMA? Are you kidding me? I literally heard it out of the mouth of the President and the Homeland Security Secretary that they want to abolish FEMA. And here we are hearing it from the Speaker, making it seem like the blame is over here. These are things these are issues that people understand, like Jody from Manchester, who is concerned that with all the rising prices, that she will have to choose between being able to afford food or medicine because costs are simply too high for her to be able to afford both. No one in this country, the richest, most powerful country in the world, should ever have to make that kind of trade-off. Yet we see right now, we're on the cusp of it, not just 3 hours away from a shutdown, but over the course of tomorrow and the coming days, Americans all over this country will be getting their new bills when it comes to health care. And we see that tens of millions of them will have to pay more, possibly double what they're already paying. Over 4.5 million Americans to lose their care, including many in New Jersey. That is a catastrophe that we see coming. We knew it was coming, and we were trying to take action to be able to address that. And what happened? Kicking the can down the road. When does open enrollment start when it comes to healthcare? It starts in November. So what good is it if we punt towards Thanksgiving, which is what this body tried to do? They need solutions now. They need answers now. And they're not getting it. And they're certainly not seeing anything that resembles leadership in this country right now. So yes, when I'm hearing from Lorena from Forked River, who says that, literally could lose her current health insurance if the ACA premiums go away, that's what we're fighting for. That's what I hope people see over the coming period as this continues on. Because I know it's so easy to make it feels like, again, it's just completely detached. And often it really seems that way. It feels like people here in the Senate, here in Congress, at the White House, that we're playing with other people's chips, that we don't feel it ourselves. I have to say, I found it disgusting when I learned in 2019 and I came into Congress that the president and members of Congress get paid during the shutdown, that they continue to get their salary while service members in our military and other public servants do not, even though they are showing up to do their work. We should not be held to a different standard. We should not be in a place where it seems like we're above the rest. Because that's exactly what the rest of the American people believe. They believe that we think that we're above the law, that we don't have to obey it, that we don't have to follow the rules that other people do, and that's why they are losing trust in this government. And I can tell you, come midnight today, they have every bit reason to believe that because we have failed to ability to be able to deliver for so many people. We had Lucinda from Whiting write in telling us, begging us to hold the line when it comes to fighting for health care. Because in her words, quote, I definitely cannot afford my ACA insurance without the advanced premium tax credits. If costs go up and health care gets more expensive, I will have to go without insurance and not go to the doctor. These are just a fraction of the thousands of calls and emails and outreach that we've received. We asked people to share their stories. We got over 3,500 stories back just this week about people's concerns about what's happening with this shutdown and losing health care. We need to recognize that a president who can't even be bothered to learn about the hurt that is being put forward by his own party when it comes to our health care. that our bill is not one that is looking out for them. We need leaders who understand what is going on. We need leaders who care about the people they are supposed to be leading. We need leaders who will actually be the adults in the room. And yes, so I rise today to make that promise to New Jersey and to the American people that I will keep fighting for you and fight with you as we go through this. And we're going through uncertain times. We're entering unprecedented times. And I know that it's a lot for everyone. But again, we remember why we fight here. That while I'm giving this speech, I'm worried about the care that my father's getting, and my father's health is declining rapidly. Every single one of us knows what it's like to have a loved one struggling when it comes to their care. And I know everyone knows that experience of saying that we would try to move heaven and earth to be able to make sure that they get the care that they need in their time of greatest need. And how can I, when I stand by thinking about 4.5 million Americans, including many in my state, losing health care, making it harder for them to be able to deliver for their family, how can I say that this is a time to roll over, that this is a time to stand down? No. We draw the line here. We fight for your health care. We fight for your lives, your ability to deliver for your loved ones, and to be able to stand up together and say, this is not how our government should work. This is not how our democracy should function. We deserve better. The American people deserve better. And that's what we're going to fight for. We're going to fight for better. With that, I yield back the floor.
Senator Andy Kim, Democrat, New Jersey, recently took to the Senate floor to voice his frustration over the impending government shutdown, which he attributed to the failure of Republicans to act. He shared that just minutes before his speech, he had wrapped up a telephone town hall with over 5,000 of his constituents from New Jersey, many of whom expressed their deep concerns about how the shutdown would impact their daily lives. The people he spoke with were particularly anxious about the rising costs of healthcare and how these would affect their ability to receive the care they need. They voiced feelings of fear and frustration, with many openly expressing anger at what they saw as an abdication of leadership by both the White House and Congress. Kim pointed out that the absence of the House of Representatives from work this week, due to Speaker Johnson's failure to bring them back to session, had only compounded the problem. He argued that if public servants, including the military, were expected to continue working without pay, the least Republicans in the House could do was show up to work and take action. The senator emphasized that negotiations between political parties were necessary, but he questioned how such discussions could take place when one chamber of Congress wasn't even functioning. He made it clear that the people of New Jersey, and Americans at large, were fed up. The frustration was palpable, as Kim noted that his constituents were not just disappointed, but furious, knowing that the government was failing to serve them at a time when leadership was most needed. The senator underscored that the problem wasn't just about politics or party power struggles. It was about real lives being affected by the dysfunction in Washington. He cited the example of Letitia from Cannon, who spoke about the constant stress of rising prices and how every financial decision felt like a sacrifice. Despite the pressure, Letitia remained determined to fight for stability and dignity for her family. Kim also shared an urgent plea from Barbara, who begged lawmakers not to back down from the fight to protect families like hers, and a call from Laura, who expressed a desire to do more than what she saw coming from Speaker Johnson's side of the aisle. Another caller, Mick from Toms River, described his difficulty in distinguishing fact from fiction amidst the overwhelming disinformation surrounding the shutdown and the budget. Kim pointed out that political rhetoric from Republicans was deliberately misleading, citing a claim from the Speaker of the House about Democrats trying to cut FEMA resources and make it harder for families to access care through the WIC program. Kim rejected these accusations, pointing out that a reconciliation bill passed earlier had already threatened to impact millions of people, making it harder for them to receive crucial care through the WIC program. The senator then turned to personal stories like that of Jody from Manchester, who faced the impossible choice between affording food or medicine due to skyrocketing prices. Kim voiced his disbelief that anyone in the richest country in the world should be forced into such a trade-off. Yet, this was the reality facing many Americans, as they prepared for the new healthcare bills that would arrive in the coming days, potentially doubling their costs. Kim also highlighted that over 4.5 million Americans could lose their healthcare, including many in New Jersey. He described this as an impending catastrophe, one that could have been avoided if Congress had acted sooner. Kim expressed frustration that solutions had been kicked down the road and that lawmakers weren't taking meaningful steps to address the crisis. He pointed out that the open enrollment period for healthcare was fast approaching in November, but that pushing decisions off until Thanksgiving was not a viable solution for the millions of people who needed help now. The senator's words echoed the sense of urgency shared by his constituents, who needed answers immediately. Personal stakes were high for Kim, as he mentioned his own concerns about the health care of his father, who was in declining health. He related to the struggles of his constituents, as every person had someone in their life they were trying to ensure received proper care. He vowed to continue fighting for the health care needs of his constituents, calling on his fellow lawmakers to put aside their political differences and do what was right for the people they were elected to serve. In his final remarks, Kim criticized the unequal treatment of members of Congress and the president during a shutdown. He recalled his shock when he learned that in 2019, members of Congress and the president continued to receive their salaries during a shutdown, while public servants, including military personnel, went without pay. He argued that this stark difference only furthered the sense of disconnect and mistrust that many Americans felt toward their government. Kim concluded by making a pledge to New Jersey and the American people that he would continue to fight for them, refusing to back down or accept the dysfunction that had become all too familiar in Washington. He called on his fellow lawmakers to step up, to fight for the American people, and to restore trust in the government by doing the job they were elected to do.